from the mound.
The Giants have won the ball game. Bill Laskey, in his first major league start, has shut out the Montreal Expos.
To the mic.
Friend of the show, let's bring in Bryce Eldridge. Let's welcome in Lee Jung-hoo from Rocky Mountain, North Carolina. He wears number 65, Landon Root.
Well, I appreciate it, Bill. I always enjoy talking to you.
Let's welcome in Wade Boggs. Let's bring in Will the Thrill. He's the ace of the staff. Let's welcome in Logan Webb. Logan, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Good to be on here.
Welcome to Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Giants sweep the LA Dodgers.
Sponsored by Lunardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply the best. Right here on your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants. KNBR, the sports leader.
Middle infield, halfway. There goes McRae. The bluff of the bunt. The throw goes down to second, and it sails into center field. Devers comes in to score the go-ahead run. McRae jumps up at second and races over to third. The Giants steal a run with a little help from a wild throw.
Welcome into a Sunday edition of the Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Laskey. Well, the homestand didn't start off too well as the Giants lost to the Blue Jays 2 out of 3. But they rallied back to win 3 out of 4 games against the Rockies, winning yesterday and today on good pitching, timely hitting, home run ball yesterday by Casey Schmidt, and today they did it again. Trevor McDonald, Keaton Wynn, and Eric Miller really pitched well all together. We'll get into them in a minute. And timely hitting today in the 4th inning. Drew Gilbert got a nice base hit to left field to drive in Bryce Eldridge after he got a walk, and Adames got a base hit. And then in the 8th inning, an error right there, as you just heard it from Hunter Goodman, trying to throw out McRae, and sailed it into center field and brought the winning run in. And right after that, Willie Adames with the infield in, got a base hit to left field, and they added another run. And the Giants win the last game before the All-Star break, 3-1. 3 runs, 8 hits for the Giants, 1 run, 4 hits, and that error by the Rockies. And the Giants go to 41-55, 14 games under 500 as they hit the All-Star break. They don't play again until next Friday in Seattle, where they'll have 3 games in Seattle and then 3 games against Kansas City. And then their next homestand will be July 24th, 25th, and 26th against the Angels. And then the Brewers will come in at 27, 28, and 29. So there's your next 12 games on the radar in the month of July. With that win, the Giants get a series win. They have lost 3 series in a row. They're 6-5 in the month of July, a positive note when they get to the All-Star break. But today, once again, great defense. Casey Schmidt again making some fantastic plays at third base. And a nice 3-6-3 double play in the 5th inning. Really nice play by Devers. Adames back to Devers to end the 5th inning. A great job by Trevor McDonald. If you remember his last outing, he just struggled against the Blue Jays, where he only went 2 1/3 innings, giving up 11 hits, 8 earned runs. And then the time before that, he pitched really well in Arizona, where he went 6 innings, only giving up 1 hit, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Well, we saw that guy today. Trevor McDonald really threw well. The first hitter of the game. He goes 0-1 on Jake McCarthy, and Jake McCarthy hits it down all the way in Triple's alley. It bounces around, and he ends up getting an inside-the-park home run, and that was the only run that Trevor McDonald gave up as he goes 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Nice job, and we talk about more than a 2-pitch pitcher. Well, today, all of a sudden, he's got 5 pitches, and I love it. Threw a sinker, a slider, a changeup, threw a couple cross-seam fastballs, and a cutter. So now he's mixing in a couple new pitches, and it worked really well today. 36 sinkers, 17 sliders, 17 changeups. Thank you, Trevor McDonald, for using all your pitches today because it worked magnificently. And he ended up throwing, like I said, 73 pitches, 52 for strikes. 18 first pitch strikes out of 25 hitters, 10 ground balls, 6 fly balls. And when you're quick like that and you get good defense, the pitches come quick. The innings go by fast. 14 pitches in the first inning, 12 in the second, 8 in the third, 15 in the fourth. How about this? In the 5th and 6th inning, both innings he threw 9 pitches, 7 for strikes. And he finished out the 7th inning with 6 pitches, 5 for strikes. Just a great outing by Trevor McDonald, using his defense, as I said, 10 ground balls, 6 fly balls. And Tony Vitello goes to the bullpen. Keaton Wynn comes in, throws 2/3 of an inning, only walks the last hitter, and he comes in with Eric Miller to face Moniak. And, boy, he threw some nice sliders today. Eric Miller really did a nice job striking on Moniak. Goodman ends up in the top of the ninth with a base hit. He gets a ground ball, a punch out by Carros, and an 11-pitch at bat. He finally got Cole Carrick to hit a fly ball to short right field, and Jung-Hoo Lee comes sliding in to make the final out. Eric Miller gets the win. He's 2-0. Again, Trevor McDonald, fabulous start. Just as what we said yesterday with Tyler Mahle. 2 good pitching performances by both of them, and both of them have been inconsistent the first half, and let's hope we see more of that as we get past the All-Star break. Defense, again, as I said, the defense was pristine today. Really good catching from shortstop, third. The outfield, we don't give the outfield enough credit, and they played really well in the outfield, catching some balls in the gap. And a couple nice running balls in by Jung-Hoo Lee on some balls coming in short into right field. He made some nice catches, but the Giants end up winning 3 out of 4 against the Rockies. They're now 5-5 in 10 games against the Colorado Rockies. They win the homestand. They're 4-3 on the homestand, and just a good solid ending to this first half, and something to take a break on, something to leave the baseball at the ballpark for the next 3 to 4 days and relax and just take their mind and go away from baseball, because that's what the All-Star break is. It's a reset, and I've done it for many years, and sometimes you just want to put everything down, live a normal life for a couple days, forget about the game, maybe watch the All-Star game, enjoy the festivities that's going on in Philadelphia. Luis Ariz, Logan Webb, patting them on the back. Logan Webb's not going to pitch. He's announced that today. Luis Ariz, again, finished the first half with a .330 batting average. Just really a nice year for Luis Ariz, 119 hits. And he ends up with 119 hits and 361 at-bats. A fantastic professional hitter at the Luis Ariz. All right, 415-808-KNBR. Let's get on the phone lines. Let's talk about the Giants. What did you see? What you liked the last couple of games? A lot of good in the defense, a lot of good pitching, and some timely hitting. I'm Bill Laskey. This is the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up. Give me a call. Phone lines are open. We'll be right back on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
1-1 pitch. There's a soft line drive over the infield. Base hit into left field. McRae's in to score. 3-1 Giants.
Back on KNBR with Bill Laskey, the base hit by Willie Adames with the infield in. Got the Giants a third run as they end up winning this game 3-1 at Oracle Park, and they finish up 41 wins for the first half. As you say, the first half, it's really 96 games out of 162, but they take the All-Star break and pretty much call it a halfway point. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock on Murph and Marcus, they're going to introduce Jackson Flora, so please join them at 9 o'clock. The number one pick in the amateur draft will be on with Murph and Marcus. And then join me. I'll be sitting in for Greg Papa. I'll be with Greg Silver tomorrow from 10 to 2. And we're going to have the UCSB head coach, Andrew Checketts, and we'll have him on at 10:50 along with Susan Slusher. So join me there. I'll be sitting in with Greg from 10 to 2 doing a little studio work, but we'll have some fun tomorrow and see where that goes. And but definitely tune in, 9 o'clock, Murph and Marcus, Jackson, Florida. That should be a real good, interesting interview. Of course, he grew up here in Pleasanton, and he was a number one pick for the San Francisco Giants. Giants win today. Fantastic defense, some great pitching by McDonald, Wynn, and Miller, and some key hits, and really scored a run on the error by Hunter Goodman. He threw it into center field with McRae trying to steal second base, and it cost him the winning run. McRae goes to third, and as we just talked about, Adames with that base hit with the infield in, and Giants prevail with a 3-1 win. And they went 3 out of 4 against the Rockies. So a couple days off here, and they'll be right back at it next Friday in Seattle. 415-808-KNBR if you want to get on the phone lines. Let's go to Glenn. He's in Visalia. Glenn, you're on an extra inning post-game show. How are you?
Bill, I'm very blessed. Unfortunately, was that a real home run, or was that hammered with errors, I hope?
No, they first called it an error. They called it a triple and an error, and as you review it, there was nothing that Jung-Hoo Lee did wrong. It kind of bounced up in the air and then hit the warning track and bounced away from it. They called it. He finally cleaned it up, Glenn, and called it an inside-the-park home run, and they should have. With the speed of McCarthy, he never slowed up, and you know what? 1-0 after the first hitter. You throw 2 pitches, and you just wonder what Trevor McDonald was thinking. But, boy, he settled in, and he pitched really well today, Glenn.
Well, Bill, I think the Giants are going to come together now and go on a 5 or 7 game winning streak. They have.
I'd like to see that. I'm sure a lot of Giants fans would love to see a winning streak. Not too many winning streaks the first half, more losing streaks. They've only had 3-game winning streaks a few times, and love to see that happen. And they got an opportunity with Seattle, Kansas City, and the Angels. So if you're looking at the first 9 games after the All-Star break, it could happen right then, and that would really catapult this team into the second half.
Well, Bill, I just believe, Bill, that I'm a front runner. I expect my Giants to be perfect, and they won't be, but I get frustrated. It's only a game, Bill, but I take it too seriously. Bill, like always, great job, my friend. With love and respect, continue to do a great job. Thank you, Bill.
Glenn, thanks for calling in, and you're a true Giants fan. We know that, and we appreciate that, and I always appreciate your calls. Let's go to Davis, and he's in San Francisco. Davis, you're on an extra inning post-game show. Giants win the last 3 out of 4 against the Rockies, and a good homestand as they end up going 4-3. What'd you think of the series, Davis?
You know what, Bill? It's a long-time listener, first-time caller. So.
Oh, fantastic! Thanks for calling.
Anytime. You know, you mentioned something in the beginning of your show that sort of resonated with me a little bit. In that you were giving off some stats. You know, like Luis Ariz batting over 300, and you know some of these guys getting these clutch hits, and McDonald pitching a gem today. You know, and what I say that pretty much this is a Giants team. This game kind of showed what the Giants team can be and what we thought we were going to get at the beginning of the season. You know, these guys coming in with these clutch hits, pitchers, you know, throwing good games. You know, Gilbert and getting in the mix. The young guys getting in the mix, and you know, I'm hoping that the second half of the season we see a little more of that. We see a little more coming together, like your previous caller said that you know these guys I think you know might have found the formula here to you know put together some good series and put together some good wins. You know, and maybe pull something out of the season that you know we were all hoping to see. That's what
You're absolutely right, Davis. And, you know, when you look at the starting pitching, when you saw Maley and McDonald, the last two games, they have not been pitching consistently. And Maley didn't get a win since April. And yesterday he really performed well with 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run. And McDonald today was lights out. I've always said about Trevor McDonald, he gets in this sinker slider mode and he doesn't throw anything else. And I kept saying he's got a good changeup. He uses his other pitches, and that's kind of I was excited today. He threw 5 different pitches, and it all worked. And this is what he needs to do, blending in with that sinker slider, blending in a nice changeup, blending in a cross fastball, just to give the hitters some other thoughts than just sitting up there on sinker slider. The Blue Jays sat on it. And all he did was throw sinker sliders, and that's where he gave up 11 hits. Not a lot of hard hits, but enough to get in and get over, and Toronto took advantage of him. Today, it was a different Trevor McDonald. He was the guy we saw the day before that, the game before where he pitched really well against the Diamondbacks. This is the formula he has to stick with, and if he can do that for 25-year-old right-hander, this is something that you can believe in for the next half, the second half. As you said, some key hits. Casey Schmidt with that home run yesterday. Today they capitalized with Eldritch walk. Adames gets a base hit, and you just talked about Drew Gilbert going the opposite way, putting the ball in play. Things that should be happening consistently, we just haven't seen the first half.
Exactly. So let's see if we get a good second half. Let's see if we can get the bullpen kind of gelling also, you know, these late inning guys, let's give them a little support. Hopefully that those guys in the 4 days off that they have, 3-4 days off, can really kind of think about, I know you say put baseball aside, but, these guys really have to come together and really get, bring up this team. They're trying their best, and I believe that we can do something good, or the Giants can do something good if, so the bullpen comes together a little bit. But,
I agree, Davis. All good points. Really good points today, Davis, and I thank you for your call. It's so solid what you're saying and what you're talking about, and I appreciate your call. Pick up the phone, talk more baseball with me. I'll be on weekends as well as during the week. So please add on, and just some good solid stuff, and let's see what the Giants can do with a different formula going into Seattle next weekend. I think the bullpen with different faces, different opportunities. Today, Eric Miller. Yesterday, JT Brubaker. This is what I'm talking about. You don't have an experienced closer down there, and you can use different people to leverage the last couple innings. I think Tony Vitello is starting to see that. Caleb Killian trying to be that closer. You don't have to have him be that quotation closer. And it worked today and it worked yesterday, and we'll see what other things he's going to do as they start their second half next Friday. All right, let's go to Mitch. He's in New Jersey. Mitch, how are you this afternoon? You're on with Bill Laskey. What's going on, Mitch?
Hello, Bill. Everything's good here. Hope everything's good with you over there.
Well, it was a good win. A little surprised how they didn't beat the Rockies in Colorado, as they lost 4 out of 6, but they come back and win 3 out of 4. And now, so far, they're 5-5. They don't play the Rockies till August. Rockies have a little different attitude, but the Giants played well here on yesterday and today to finish out the first half.
You certainly want to be in last place, but division, you know who's going to win it. Would the Giants still consider trading? Making some trades, get some young players to build up that farm system. I want to see Eldridge and Schmidt. I'm real happy with Schmidt. Get trade Chapman, get some for him Ademas and Devers especially. I know he's been hot lately. And one more thing, what you think about the third-round pick, Barry Bonds' nephew?
I love it. Anytime with you have a name Bonds on it and it's associated with their family, Barry will be working with them. But big kid, center fielder out of Rutgers. Had a hamstring issue toward the end of his year, but he's still a good kid. I saw a lot of video on him. The Giants really busted up their pitching. They really wanted some pitching. They ended up picking 6-7 pitchers up. I didn't see the final count, but some young pitchers out of high school and some college pitchers, especially with Jackson Flora, the #1 pick. But we'll find out, Mitch. That's what's great about the draft. You see what they're looking for, and boy, they did a great draft. I really believe it's an A-type draft. The Giants went after some great players, and hopefully they can sign them all.
Another Rutgers players, because they got Derek Cohen in the minors. I hope he'd be coming up soon. And one more thing,
Nice.
I know I said that before. Derek Cohen, I believe he's in the AAA or AA. I can't wait for him to come up to the majors. Derek Cohen. I'm sorry, Cohen.
Oh, Derek
Cohen.
Cohen. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know him that well. I'd have to check into him. Where is he playing right now, Mitch?
Oh, I forgot. I looked it up like a month ago.
Richmond?
I hope
Richmond AA, maybe?
I'm not sure. He was having a decent year, and he was in spring training. I hope the majors don't. I hope the major doesn't do this. That you got to be 20 years old to be drafted. I would hate to see that. That takes a lot.
I don't like that. I don't like
Not at all.
it at all. Because there's so many top-line seniors in high school that are good players, and a lot of them just want to play pro ball. And you know what? These things have to be outlined. They have to make it right for the players, and it's not just going to be the owner's decision on a lot of this. And I think there's going to be a strike. There's going to be a lockout. It's going to happen. There's no way the players are going to have a salary cap and arbitration questions. You hear a lot of the stuff that just kind of filtering in and out, Mitch, and I don't like it. I don't have anything to say about it, but a lot of it is the owners trying to manipulate, and I hope the players stay strong with it. But, Mitch, thanks for calling all the way from New Jersey. Have a great rest of this Sunday. All right, we're going to take a quick break. 415-808-KBR. Got a handful of calls waiting for me. Don't go anywhere. We'll take a quick break, come back with more right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
You want to get your rest, but some of these guys are actually staying here because they got to put in work rehab-wise. So no main theme. We've talked a bunch about it hasn't, been ideal. Maybe the baseball gods, we've received poor fortune in the first half. Maybe some of it is our own doing. But regardless, we know we're capable of better and keep pushing ahead. And since those conversations have taken place, I think it's been good baseball.
Back on KNBR with Bill Laskey, that was Tony Vitello saying there are going to be some days that some guys are going to stay at the yard and do some extra hitting, fielding, and that's okay. They'll go in there real quick, a couple hours here and there, and that's all on the players, and it's really a lot on the organization saying, get your butt in here, let's do some extra hitting, fielding, and it just does that. It's just a solid part of keeping your game solid. And it sounds like that's what they're going to do. So just to get good off days, you still have some time off to spend some time with the family or just taking some time off, having a nice dinner, going to the beach, playing some golf. You just want to get your mind off the game of baseball and get you solid for next Friday. Just looking at a couple guys here on the 7-game homestand, some really good hitting today. Elliot Ramos had 2 hits today. He ended up going 10 for 30 on the homestand. He ended up going 4 for 17 in the 4-game series against Colorado, and then 10 for 30 overall. Luis Arraez was 7 for 15 in the Rocky series. He ended up going 10 for 27. Casey Schmidt, 6 for 16 in the 4-game series. He ended up going 7 for 28. Devers was 6 for 22 in the 7-game series. And like I said, Willie Adames was in a funk. He was 5 for 33 going into today's game. He ended up going 3 for 4, and in the 7-game series, he was 5 for 25. Bryce Eldridge, 6 for 23. Those are good numbers. Drew Kavanaugh had a nice 7-game series. He was 4 for 12, and Drew Gilbert with a nice RBI today. He ended up 3 for 17. So some good hitting, and again, some of the top hitters are still hitting the ball well, and Elliot Ramos and Luis Arraez are 2 of the top hitters in this Giants lineup. 415-808-KNBR if you want to get on phone lines. Let's go to Bar Fighter. He's in Sacramento. Bar Fighter, how are you on a Sunday afternoon?
Still chilling, prime time. Hey, tell my Bar Fighter friends, check me out at SJ Bar Fighter on X.
Okay. What else you got going on, buddy?
You were talking about the labor issue, right? When I was in college, I wrote a 20-page essay on one of my heroes, Marvin Miller. He ended the corporate ripoff of Major League Baseball.
Marvin Miller was fabulous. He was fabulous as a advisor for the players. We got to talk to him every spring training. He would come in, shut all the doors. He and Mark Belanger were the 2 top people that were fighting for the Players Association. Did a real nice job for us. Of course, we struck many times. When we were on strike, I think I had 3 strikes in my time. A couple of them were short, a couple of them were long, but at the same time, what we did is we outlined a fabulous career for a lot of players now that are making millions upon millions of dollars. And I think that's what these players need to do, Bar Fighter, for the next wave of players.
Yeah, because it should be equitable. The profit should be equitable, both for the owners and for the players.
Well, you look at some of these teams that are worth billions of dollars, and the Giants are worth $3 billion or more, and the players are saying, hey, we're here as entertainers also, and we should get a piece of the pie. And, hey, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of money the players are making, but when you look at the owner side, they're making a filthy amount of money.
Yeah, and I just want to briefly touch on the game today. I mean, this game is, and everyone knew that the Giants weren't going to be in the playoffs this season, but this was basically a very developmental series, I believe, for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you look at some of the young talent yesterday when Eldridge got the double and then an out, and then Rodriguez got a double, both young players. That was cool. Today, of course, with McRae stealing second base, you need a guy, and Cox is injured, and McRae's just as fast. Just a heads-up play when Goodman threw the ball into center field. He got up, ran to third. Those are all things that you have to do. You got to get the ball in play. You got to run the bases better. Devers running from first to third, the other day. I'd like to see that. And I think with a base hit, you got to do that. You got to push the runners from first to third. I really believe Gary Pettis has done a fabulous job ever since he's been in that third base coach. I have not seen one mistake, and he is that good.
Yeah, Pettis is awesome. I remember him as a player. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he knows exactly what he needs to process into the infield.
I had a real nice interview with him last week, and if you ever catch that Bar Fighter, a lot about his career, 5-time Gold Glove winner, over 350 stolen bases, and some of the instincts you have to have as a third base coach. And boy, he was spot on with every answer I gave him, and just different things from knowing where the coverage is on the outfield, knowing the cut relays, and knowing the arms on the middle infielders as well as the outfield arms. You can go back to Ron Wotus, Tim Flannery, Joel Malfantano. I'll get it out sooner or later. Joey Amalfitano, he was one of the best at third base. That's what they do. The knowledge of the field, the knowledge of the corners, and the arms of the outfield are so important.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what you were saying earlier about the relief pitching, the blending of the pitches, that was excellent.
Yeah, and you don't have to have a closer. We know that we do not have an experienced closer, so why not use different people, I should say different pitchers and different leverage points? You don't have to have one inning for your closer. I loved what he did with Miller today, pushed him right back out there. I loved what he did with JT Brubaker yesterday, give him the second inning. Why not? You do not have a closer that is an outstanding closer. You have a lot of arms down there. Start maneuver him a little bit more. And hopefully we see that in the second half and his bullpen throws a little better than what they did in the first half.
Hey, prime time. I'll give you a call during the week.
I'll be around, buddy. Thanks for the call, Barfighter. Have a good Sunday. Let's go to Brentwood and talk to Lance. Lance, you're on a Sunday edition of Extra Innings. How are you doing this afternoon?
Good, just working, doing DoorDash.
Good, that's good. Keep yourself busy. I said keep yourself busy on a Sunday.
Yes, sir.
Are you on a speakerphone, Lance? Are you on a speakerphone, Lance? Could you pick up?
Oh, yeah, hold on.
For all you callers
Yes,
out there,
sir.
if you
Hold
don't
on.
have to be on a speakerphone, it's clear and I can hear you better as well as the listener. So if you can pick up your phone and talk to me, it's so much better. Lance, are you there?
Yeah. Yes, sir, I'm here.
Excellent. How are you doing today, Lance? You're working hard, so what'd you think of the game today?
That's wrong. Nobody lives here. You know the wrong address. Nobody lives here.
Well,
It's that other building.
it said 308.
Yeah, 308, but you gave the wrong address. This is 34. That's 30830.
Lance, why don't you call me back? Let's go to David in Berkeley. David, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show. How are you today, David? You there, David? Am I losing these callers? I guess I might be. All right, let's jump to Santa Rosa and talk to Dan. Dan, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show. Are you there, Dan?
I am here. I was actually at the game today,
right.
and I would say it was
All right.
low start, got a little dicey at the end. You started to worry with Miller, but it worked out. So not a bad game after all. It was fun.
Yeah, I loved what they did the last couple games with Maley as well as McDonald, both pitchers that have not been pitching up to their par, and both of them pitched well. And to finish out this first half, both of them, we'll find out about them in the rotation coming into the second half. And this is what we want to see out of these starting pitchers. They go deep in the game. They both went 7 innings and a lot of good strikes, a lot of competitive strikes, going after hitters. And when you do that, Dan, what happens? Your infield plays good defense, and your outfields are on your toes, and that's what they did. Good defense wins games.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, and actually, I was calling to actually. It's kind of interesting because you were just talking about ownership with some of the previous callers. Really, my intent of calling today is to talk about, like I watch Vitello. I go to a bunch of games, and I know a lot of people are giving him heat. And it seems to me like almost like a lot of people in the press want him to fail. I can't put it on the guy. It's his first year. He's made some mistakes, sure, but I really put it on ownership because they did not give him really ownership and management, didn't give him the arms that he needs in the bullpen. We now know it was a huge mistake, the way that they constructed the bullpen this year. So I don't put it on Vitello. I want to give him a couple more seasons. I see his energy. I was sitting right behind the dugout. I see how he interacts with the players. I think he's pretty good as far as I can see. Again, not to dismiss some mistakes that were made with some of the calls that he made as a manager, but again, I think that it's easy to put it on him. It's on the players, it's on management, and it's on the ownership for not giving them the arms.
And you're right, Dan. I mean, he's the first person that's going to say, hey, I'm learning on the job. I've never been in a big league dugout. I've never managed a big league team. And from coming to college, jumping into a major league locker room, major league players that have been in the business 8 to 10 years, veterans making umpteen millions of dollars, and you're trying to be a friend of them, trying to take a little leadership role. That's a difficult part of the game that he's trying to get better with. He's the first person to say, hey, I screwed up. We know that. We all know that he's not going to be perfect. I think what it is moving forward in trying to dissect what went wrong and fix it and make it better. I think that's what makes a good manager, and you got to develop your coaching staff to help you, and I think the players will fall into it. I think the players need to see successful work, get wins, see how the success is, and that's what's going to make him a good manager if he can sustain all that. You just don't know what his mindset is. Does he want to go back to the college game? I know he signed a 3-year deal here. I don't think he's ready to jump out. But I think what all Giants fans want to see is success. And if he's that kind of guy to lead this team into winning, why not keep him here?
Yeah, I think so. Well, again, we'd love to hear your thoughts, by the way, and I'll drop off, but I want to hear your thoughts on what you think they can do with the bullpen. I mean, you've been around baseball for a long time. And what your thoughts are about sort of the trade deadlines as it comes to getting new pitching.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dan. And I think what I've been talking about is no bona fide closer down there. So why not shuffle the deck? Why not use a couple different players or pitchers in different scenarios, just like leaving Eric Miller and leaving JT Brubaker? And I just talked about that. If somebody's rolling in a nice inning, keep them out there. That's what I was a little upset when Sam Hedges came out of the game and Killian went in. And Killian got done pitching that Thursday game when they were up to 8-2. There was no need for him to pitch that game. I know he warmed up, but it's okay. Sit him down. And then he comes back into a game where he's needed, and he didn't have his sharp pitches. So keep the guys in that are throwing the ball well. You can go 1 or 2 innings with some of these guys. Push them a little bit. JT Brubaker's an experienced pitcher. Hedges is an experienced pitcher. Give them a little rope, finish out games. Today, I'm glad to see Eric Miller close that game out, and hopefully these are things that Tony Vitello, is seeing that he can use in a bullpen and use certain guys at the end that he's comfortable with, and at the same time, give them a little rope to get through that 9th inning and get a save. And Eric Miller ended up getting a win. On the trade deadline, it's a lot of rumors, a lot of things that people are talking about. Of course, when you're seeing teams in the bottom of each division, top teams are going to look at their rosters and see if they can maneuver, see if they can make a trade. I think after the All-Star break, you're going to have a little bit more of an idea what the Giants want to do. Now that the MLB draft is over, now they'll have meetings on what this roster is going to look like, what's in a AAA that could come up and help them. And that's going to really dictate what's going to go on in a trade deadline that's going to end up on August 2nd. So we'll find out. A lot of rumors, a lot of speculation, a lot of money on some of these contracts if they're going to try to move them. But we'll find out, Dan, and I thank you for your call. Let's go to Rancho Cucamonga and talk to Dave. Dave, you're on an extra inning post-game show. Giants win today. A good couple wins at the end of the first half. What'd you think?
You're right. Good couple wins to finish off the first half. And thanks for having me on, Bill. Love talking Giants baseball with you. Not a lot of watering holes or coffee shops down here talking Giants baseball. So appreciate you getting me on.
I appreciate you calling.
Oh, you bet. The second half and what I'd like to see, and obviously first and foremost, regardless of who's still here and so forth. I just want to see winning baseball. And I think winning baseball starts for next year. Starts right now. And I'm looking at the standings and you look at the Cubs, the top wild card team. They're at a .563 win percentage. So I'd like to see the Giants finish the second half at 38-27. I think they have the talent to do it, and I think they can get there. And it starts with Tony. Just like you were saying, making good decisions like he has here recently, and and then from there you move on. The other thing I'd like to see is Luis Rise in a Giants uniform. Buster Six.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I know you are. And if Buster sticks to his philosophy of being, strong up the middle and being, someone who makes contact, doesn't strike out much, we got him right now. The other thing,
let me make one point here, Dave. Let me just make one point about Arise, and maybe we don't talk about it enough. Willie Adames is going to be here. I don't believe somebody's going to take a $130 or $140 million deal and try to trade for him. And these two guys have worked so well up the middle. You talk about the strength up the middle with Arise. We don't talk much about how they command that base, how they can get these double plays, constantly talking to each other. And the communication with them goes from first game till now. And I think Giants fans are seeing it, and you want to be strong up the middle. You just said it, and I think that's a key here by keeping Arise here, because these two could really stay up the middle for the next few years and make that such a successful double play combination. I would love to see that too, and I bet you would too.
Oh, big time! It's a must, and I hope they can. I think there's a way to do it, but it's going to require maybe unloading. The another thing I was hoping to see is I would like to see Chapman go to the Yankees, and one of my we've seen some great third base play out of Schmidt here recently, and some of the best third base play I've ever seen was Craig Nettles against the Dodgers in the World Series, and I think I think we would see that from right. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Boy, he was fabulous, wasn't he? Nettles was just something else.
If anybody gets a chance, look at that. It's the most amazing third base play you'll ever see, and especially on the biggest stage.
And we could probably go back a little further, Dave, and Brooks Robinson in the World Series when Baltimore was there. He used to make that play down the line with that backhand and come up throwing too. He was another fabulous third baseman.
Well, your colleague up there, he does a pregame show. He's a big Brooks Robinson fan, and he made that comparison. And but yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't remember Brooks as well as me, Nettles playing, of course. But I would like to see L get dialed in on driving that ball to left field. He's got such a great swing to all fields, and I've been watching him close. I love hitting. I just, pitching, I don't know much about, but I love hitting, and he's got a natural ability to go the opposite way, and he's just missing that pitch to left field, and he gets that dialed in, we are in for a treat. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, Dave, I think the success for most of these hitters is to go the opposite way instead of just being pull happy and you get that grounder to third or the roll over to shortstop. I want to see more of the opposite way. Matt Chapman, when he was in spring training, he was hitting everything to right field, and he gets the start of the season, he pull heavy. And you start seeing, like you said, Elliot Ramos going to right field. You see Jung-Hoo Lee going to left field. Of course, the professional hitter in Luis Ariz can go anywhere because he can go to left field or pull the ball. I would love to see a little bit more discipline in the hitting where they can wait for the ball a little bit more in the zone and push the ball the opposite way. And if they can do that, that's only going to be more successful in getting runners on, moving them to third, first and third, maybe some hit and runs. Of course, those two words you don't hear too much of in the active game, but that would be something to keep this offense moving a little better.
Oh, it really would. And we've talked about in the past Chapman going more to right field, and if he ends up staying there, which is fine. I would love. He needs to go to right field. And look, Don't take your and my word for it, But I recently heard an interview, or I think it was Baggerly commenting on, he's talking to Jeff Kent about going to the Hall of Fame. Who is going to thank? And he was expecting him to say his dad, but he said Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker, he made my career, and the one thing he taught me was you got to use the whole field. And so I wish someone with a strong, has the experience or the ability to talk to Chapman and say, use the whole field. He has the ability. And
well, Dave, you watch a lot of baseball, right? Dave, you watch a lot of baseball.
Oh,
you got your middle of the order guys that are hitting 275 to 300, maybe a little higher than 300. That's what they do. You look at Luis Ariza, 119 hits. You think he pulls the ball all the time? No, he puts the ball in play, watches the pitches. Bryce Eldridge doing a little bit more doing that as a young hitter. You have to use the whole field. Casey Schmitz does it too. So when you start seeing these young hitters doing it, that's what you want that core to learn about in the baseball world, especially at the big league level. You're not going to get cookies down the middle all the time. You got to push that ball the opposite way on some of those fastballs away. And you and I are both talking about it. This is something the Giants need to do more in a productive side the second half.
Oh, big time. I mean, we talk about, and I think that's been the key to of Schmidt's success this season is you go back to the beginning of the year, he started off, it's nice to see it going the opposite way, and he still does it. And it's, the step he's made in his hitting this year has just been phenomenal. But to wrap things up with you, I grew up obviously in Northern California, but got into San Diego in '82. There for 20 years plus, and so I grew up watching Tony Gwynn. And when you talk a rise, and they've made the comparison, and it's not far off. I'm telling you. I mean,
well, Dave, I had to face Tony Gwynn, and let me tell you, it was tough to get him out. I had a conversation with my friend, and he says, "Well, how'd you do against Tony Gwynn?" And I go, I think I did pretty well. 375. I said, "Oh, that's pretty good." But he was good. He was a type of hitter where he'd look for that sinker away from me and punch it right into that 5.5 hole. And if I tried to throw that back foot slider down at the back foot, he'd pull it down the right field line. You get him out a few times, but, he was that type of hitter that studied pitchers the night before. I'm sure you've heard all these stories back in the day, the VHS tapes. He used to put a camera behind home plate and just study the pitchers and know what they're throwing at different times of the count. He was so far ahead of the analytics, and that's what made him such a pure hitter.
Yeah, and like I said, hitting is 90% mental. But I think before you get there, you got to be fundamentally sound, technically sound, and he was a treat for us, no doubt. And the Rise has given Giants fans that same treat because it's just. But don't take it personally, Bill, because I think he owned Greg Maddux too. So.
Oh, I don't. I just say I got him out. That's all that mattered. But that was just a good battle. That whole Padre team back in the day when they had Garvey and Martinez, and you could go right around Gary Templeton. Nettles was on that team, matter of fact, Dave. He played third base for the Padres when I faced him, and that was a good, solid lineup. Of course, we played at Jack Murphy Stadium, a whole different ballpark than Petco, but some fun times back in the day, reminiscing on some of the things I did in a Giants uniform. But, Dave, thanks again for your call. It's always a pleasure talking to you. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back with more phone calls. I got Steve Kroner coming up in a little bit. And later in the show, I sat down with a great player. He's on the Wall of Fame of the San Francisco Giants, Chris Spire, and we talked defense. So don't go away. We got another good hour or so of the show. I'm Bill Laskey. This is the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
Yeah, look, we haven't put ourselves in a good position. I think that's pretty truthful, right? And it's not like we played very well. And, I think we all just have to kind of take a step back, look in the mirror, and see what do we want to do? What do we want to be as a team? How do we want teams to view us when we come to town or they come to town? And I think Tony's message, I think it's been the message from the get-go, is like kick some people in the teeth, right, or punch them in the mouth. And I don't think we did a good job of that. So I think that's the message. There's a lot of baseball left. We had some, I think I mentioned this already, but we have some people in here that were part of that Atlanta team that was, I think, 10 and a half games back at the All-Star break, and they ended up winning the World Series. So I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm not promising that, but it is baseball, and it can happen.
Back on KNBR with Bill Laskey, that was Logan Webb in the post-game talking about the Giants and what he feels could happen the second half, and talked about a couple of things that he really felt the team could play a little better and put himself in this position, and they just have to get better. And I think we all know that. We've been watching these losing streaks more than winning streaks, and this is something that Logan Webb, as a leader of the team, wants to speak about, and I'm glad he spoke today in the post-game show before he heads to Philadelphia. He's not going to pitch in the All-Star game. He's scheduled to pitch next weekend in Seattle. Don't have the rotation. I'm sure we'll get it as the week goes on. But definitely join me. I'll be sitting in with Greg Silver tomorrow from 10 to 2 o'clock of the Papa Silver Show. I'm a co-host with Greg. We'll be talking a lot of baseball. And then Wednesday and Thursday night, I'll be doing some sports from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So please join me as the week progresses. Got a lot of great guests coming on this week. And have a conversation with Randy Wynn about the minor leagues and the draft and things like that. So join me as I'll do some more KNBR shows during the week. So let's get back to the phone lines. Let's go to Ben. He's in SoCal. What's going on, Ben? How are you?
Well, the topic came up about the potential strike for next year. And one of the things I feel that just doesn't get talked about when I'm hearing about this topic, either nationally or locally, because I listen to both perspectives, is the fan perspective, because I feel like the vast majority of fans, Major League Baseball fans I interact with, they're frustrated with how baseball is. They feel like there's not a good competitive balance, and they feel also that tickets are overpriced and concessions are overpriced and parking is overpriced. And I think my concern is, like, where are the fans in this whole discussion?
Well, and you're absolutely right, because the fans pay for all this. When it really comes down to owners and players, the fans pay the price for the tickets. As you said, concessions, apparel. There's so many things that fans have a big part of the game. And you can say this, fans can cut it off real quick by not going to the games. They can cut the rope. And then you start looking at TV revenue and all the cable and all the different outlets now that are charging for more baseball. It gets to be a point of, when is it going to end? How is it going to stop? How is it going to be even controlled, Ben? And you have a great point there. Fans do need to have part of this, and the discussion should have some of that with the owners as well as the players. But it seems like it doesn't do that, does it, Ben? It seems like it's just players and owners going head-to-head.
The game wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for the fans.
You're right. Oh, I'm right there with you. And sometimes when the players see how much the revenue is coming in for the owners and how much money they're capitalizing on, and they're not spending money on some of the lower-tier teams on players and compensation, you just wonder, are you in for business? Are you in to win? Or is this just a business proposition, and the owner's going to score and they're going to make their money, and then players will walk, and the teams will always be in the lower part of the division?
Yeah, that's for sure. It's interesting.
It's so
because
true.
I'm a Giants fan, and I live in SoCal, and I interact with a fair amount of Dodgers fans. Now, I will admit that the ones I interact with the vast majority of the time are part of a faction that on that side of things are frustrated by the fact that the Dodgers just can spend endlessly. There's no limit to how much they can spend. And I think there's a frustration with that. And another thing that fans are frustrated with just across the board, regardless of team in a lot of cases, is deferred money. Because it's like you can defer like 80%, 90% of your contract into the future. Like, what?
Yeah. And they were really the first ones that do it with Ohtani. Of course, Bobby Bonilla is the one that always comes up every July. The Bobby Bonilla, $1 million. I think it's till 2030 or some crazy thing like that. He was really the first one that really deferred his contract to get money down the road. Ohtani, and now look at it, there's probably a handful of guys that the Dodgers have that are all deferred, 10 years after they retire. Is that a way to make a team? Is that a way to win championships? Is that a way to spend money? The Dodgers found a way to do it, and now they're capitalizing on it.
That is true. I'll give them that. I think the thing that's kind of frustrating, though, is they have such a vast revenue stream, and every time I go to look to see how much tickets are to a Dodgers game, it's outrageous. The ordinary person cannot afford those tickets.
Yeah.
And one can say, well, they win, so people will pay it. There is some truth to that. But I have friends who pay a good amount of money. And they're like, I don't know
you're so
if I
right,
wanna...
Ben. Yep. You're so right, and that's the problem when teams can do that, and fans are going to pay it. And here's the entertainment part of it, and the dollar signs keep going up, and the entertainment is still solid, of course, at Dodger Stadium. But you're absolutely right when you talk about fans putting the money into it. Fans are paying the overprice, and it really does. When does the fan get an opportunity to say it's too much? And maybe that's the only way you're going to control it, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, and the thing, too, is, like, again, going back to concessions and parking, other things that they charge for at these games, a lot of it is so overpriced. And the thing, too, is I travel to watch the Giants from time to time, and I went to Atlanta and saw them play over there, and Atlanta is up there in terms of record with the Dodgers. But the thing that makes me scratch my head is their tickets were like $30 for a decent seat. And I can't even get into a Dodgers game unless I pay like at least $80, $90.
And you're in the upper deck, probably.
Exactly. Like, how does that even it doesn't make sense in my mind. I'm like,
yeah, you have to travel, Ben, to get those good prices. It seems they got to travel and do visiting stadiums. But we'll find out. I really believe there'll be a strike. It'll happen probably around November 1st. A lot of ands, ifs, ors with the proposals going back and forth between the players and the owners. Of course, we're not reading everything that's going on. We're reading bits and pieces, and we'll find out as the season progresses. But, Ben, thanks for the call. Really appreciate you bringing that up, and have a great rest of the Sunday. Let's go to Bend, Oregon, and talk to my buddy Steve. Steve, you're on an Extra Innings Sunday show. Giants win the last two games. They end up going 41-55. What'd you think of the series?
No, I thought the series was good. I think that, when they want to play focused baseball, they can. It's just inconsistency. And it's good that they can take a break and clear their minds, because even when they played, their minds were clear. They weren't thinking. So I think it's very timely. What'd be good, Bill, is if Pettis, Baker, Washington, Lotus, Bochy, sit down with Vitello and give him a report card. Go over some of the things that he did for the first time. See that. Not bad.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah,
I don't think they've done that. I mean, they have conversations, but I think what they're doing is letting Tony and his staff try to figure it out. And if they want help, they'll help. But I don't think they're knocking on the door and saying, hey, Tony, we need to tell you this, or, hey, we need to tell your coaching staff. You got to give that room some room to breathe and to learn from mistakes. Tony V has said this many times. Hey, I'm not the best manager right now. I'm learning as we go. And sometimes I think about that and I just say, Buster, did you even think of that when you hired him? Because that's a lot of pressure for this young manager that's never done this before. And I even think of the disrespect the umpires give him. Yesterday, not even an explanation of the balk. not even a thought pattern of, let me explain what happened, and he's pushing him away like, get out of here. I thought that was very disrespectful from Lance Barksdale.
Yeah. Well, he's on his way out. I think this is his last year. Just a couple
I'm
points.
glad. I'm not real happy with him.
No, it's like he checked out. What game was he calling? But I thought Tony for a while stuck with his starting 9 too long. There wasn't any in-game matchups.
Yeah. Good point.
He wasn't playing the odds at all. And worst of all, and this was painful, and you touched on it, Bill, he left his closers in way too long. I mean, not even a mound visit. He didn't even have the catcher go out and calm down a guy like Killian, right? Left him out to dry, and that can shake a young man's confidence. So, I would give him a B for the first time. I mean, he comes from the SEC and a whistle. He doesn't come from the background of a Sparky Anderson or a
Well, just think of this, Steve. You walk into a business, and it's a major business. You got, television cameras all over you. You got media every time you go into your manager's meeting. You got probably 20, 30 people asking them questions, and you got to be spot on. And then you go into the post game right after a game, and I don't think he's used to that. And a lot of the like we say, the word salad that he says, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes he's just saying some basic things. He's not getting into the points of interest. He's learning, and he's very educated. He's a baseball mind. He's not a married guy, so he's married to baseball. And when you get guys like that, they want to get better. They want to learn. They want to ask questions. It's just something that's really tough for him to jump into a Giants organization that's used to winning. And then you look at this record and you're like, did Buster think about this? Did he think about how hard this was going to be? Because I really think it's hard on Tony. He's a winner.
Man, I hope he hangs in there. But if he gets with that mind share, Baker, Washington, Lotus, and Bochy, the players are going to start respecting him when he starts making correct decisions. I think they kind of tune out when they're going, what? And I do too. And once he understands late innings, especially late innings, the players are going to appreciate that and play for the guy because I think he's got the enthusiasm. Gilbert sure loves him. I don't know why he's on the team, but Gilbert sure loves him. Hey, okay, the final point.
I'm glad you said that, Steve.
I
laugh about that because I think the same way sometimes, and I'm just like, again, but that's okay.
Yeah,
that's what he wants to put out there.
Okay, Arise. I think if the Giants can get a frontline closer, I'd be perfectly fine if they traded him for a frontline closer. I mean,
but who's going to give up a closer? Steve, who's going to give you a closer? If you're going to go to a team, you're going to go to a contending team, right? You're going to go to a contender. Contender is going to want him. You're not going to go to another bottom baseman team and pick up Sensatella. I mean, Arise is going to go to a Tampa Bay, a New York Yankee. They're going to give you a handful of prospects. That's about the only thing you're going to get, and maybe a major league player that may be a fourth outfielder or a fifth infielder. And there's nobody that's going to give you a frontline closer for him.
Cade Smith, Cade Smith for the Guardians. Mm-hmm. This guy's good, but he's under 1 year contract, but he's under team control for 2 or 3 years. But Cleveland could use a second baseman, yeah, for sure. Get him out of that. I mean, yeah, that's pretty funny. That's funny, Bill.
Yeah. Well, you know what? But that's the same way. That's about what you're going to get. If you're going to try to get a closer, you're going to get a guy from another bottom baseman team that could close. But you're not going to trade a Rise to Colorado. You're not going to trade a Rise to a low-ranked team. You're going to go to a contender that needs. Tampa Bay's knocking on the door. The Yankees are just waiting to make a trade for a Rise. That's where you're going to get these guys. Cleveland also. You just said it. So a lot of anaphors, a lot of proposals. You're reading reading from all these writers from the East Coast, and it doesn't happen until Buster Posey says yes. And when that happens, we'll find out. But we still got a couple more weeks of good baseball, and hopefully we'll keep a Rise in a Giants uniform. But Steve, it's always a pleasure talking to you, my friend.
Bill, one more.
Go ahead, fire away.
Bailey. Okay, since Bailey was traded, how was the catching core for the Giants? And I'll take my answer off the air. We'll talk to you in 4 days, buddy.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. Well, you traded Patrick Bailey, and you ended up with a couple young catchers. Of course, Drew Kavanaugh and Daniel Susak. Those are your two catchers that you're gonna live with. Drew Kavanaugh has just shown me very good position and behind home plate, blocking balls, threw a couple guys out. He's had a couple good hits here, in the homestand. When you're looking at numbers on Kavanaugh, he was 4 for 12. So he does make good contact. Today he was 0 for 2 with a couple walks. He drew a couple walks. Daniel Susak on the other end hit about 270 now. He was injured. And then you got Eric Haas, who's really your veteran catcher that fulfills opportunities when you need a right-hand hitter. Where is this going to go? We don't know. I mean, could a catcher be in a trade? We don't know. Right now, I think Buster wanted to get Patrick Bailey out. He had a buyer, and he went for it. Patrick Bailey just couldn't hit the last couple of years. Sure, he had 2 gold gloves, but again, you got the ABS. The ABS is stopping all the snagging and all the pitch framing, because the ABS is telling you, if you call a strike, I can question that and make it a ball. So I think the pitch framing was secondary. And overall, we're going to see some young catchers, and we'll see what happens in the second half if Haas gets taken out or if Kavanaugh goes back down to AAA. There will be a move being made here because Daniel Susak will be in Seattle on Friday. All right, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to bring in my buddy Steve Kroner. He was at the game today. We'll talk a little bit about what he found out in the post-game remarks as well as what he saw in today's game. So join me as we bring Steve Kroner on next, as he was writing for the AP Associated Press. I'm Bill Laskey. This is the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. More coming up right here on KNBR.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 6.8, the sports leader.
Back on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Laskey. Giants win the fourth game of a 4-game series against the Colorado Rockies, and they go 5-5 with the Rockies right now with 3 games left in the August. They're coming in here August 14th, 15th, and 16th. Of course, each team in the division only play 13 times, but it was a good win. They ended up winning 3 out of 4 games against the Rockies. They lost 2 out of 3 to Toronto Blue Jays, but they end up with a nice 4-3 homestand in 7 games. My buddy Steve Kroner was covering a few of the games this homestand for Associated Press. Let's bring Steve in. Steve, how are you on a Sunday evening?
Bill, I'm doing fine. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. It's always great to do post games when they win. Of course, on Friday nights, you and I have been battling here with a lot of losses. But, you know, today is a good game for them to break at the All-Star break with a 3 out of 4 wins against the Colorado Rockies, who in turn beat them 4 out of 6 times in Colorado. What did you think of this 4-game series?
Yeah, it was really compelling. The first game, obviously, the Giants won pretty easily. The last 3 games are games either team could say it should have won. One of the things that really impressed me the last couple of days was the defense both teams played. Cole Carrig looks like he can play center field for the Rockies. He's really impressive. The Giants got some very good defense today and the last couple of days from Willie Adames at shortstop. Jung-Hoo Lee made a nice catch to save the game. That ball drops. We still might be out there. So it was an entertaining series. I mean, you don't necessarily say that for teams that are at the bottom of the division. Neither team is having a great season. But if you're just watching baseball for the past 3 games, as I did, if you're a baseball fan, those were 3 enjoyable games.
I agree with you. I think both sides had good defense today. The game was going on so quick with Lorenzen and McDonald just firing a lot of first pitch strikes, a lot of ground ball outs, fly ball outs. Both sides played real good defense. The Giants finally chipped away and tied the game up in the 4th inning. And you were just wondering if this game was going to go extra innings, 1-1. And, of course, the error by Hunter Goodman trying to throw out McRae really opened up that inning for the Giants. And Willie Adames comes up with a nice hit. He goes 3 for 4. But, boy, Willie Adames was in a funk. He was 5 for 33 going into today's game. And it was a good, solid game for him, both defensively and offensively.
Yeah, and let's be honest, he needed it. And he was. I mean, you could, if you had to pick a player of the game, you could pick Trevor McDonald, who was excellent in 7 innings. You could pick Eric Miller, who got the final 4 outs and struck out Moniak with the tie-in run or the go-ahead run at second base in the 8th. But you could also pick Willie Adames. He had 3 hits. He played really good defense. And Tony Vitello, in his post-game news conference, this might be stretching it a bit, but I'll just tell you what Tony said. He thought one of the reasons Goodman's throw to center field instead of to second base happened was that Adames did a good job of, trying to, you don't want to say he was doing interference, but he distracted how that Goodman's throw was high in the center field. In came Devers, and McRae went to third, and that was maybe the ball game.
Steve, were you really surprised that Goodman even threw the ball to second base? Because I thought for sure McRae was just going to go right into second, easy steal. I was a little surprised he threw with that runner at third base. Most of the time, catchers hold that ball.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good arm, and I didn't necessarily think that McRae had that thing automatically. If that were a good throw, I think it would have been close. I think McRae probably would have beat it, but it wasn't one of those where you think he's got no chance, meaning Goodman's got no chance to get McRae. So I didn't necessarily have a problem if you're a Rockies fan anyway with him making the throw. We just needed to make a better throw.
You go back to the defensive side. Devers made a beautiful play in that fifth inning with that 3-6-3 double play on McCarthy, one of the fastest runners on the Rockies. That was a bang-bang play, picked it through the second. Adames returned it, flew it right back to Devers. That was a nice bang-bang play. I think Devers has been doing very well the first half playing first base, something that he's just getting accustomed to.
Yeah, I think you can throw Bryce Eldridge in there too. Neither of those guys, would you say at the beginning of the season, would be an asset defensively. But I think they've both worked very hard. You hear a lot about what Ron Washington does for infielders. And put it this way, neither is a liability at first base anymore. And Devers is probably a plus defender right now. That 3-6-3 DP was really good. And again, speaking of Adames, give him credit for a rifle back to first base to get McCarthy on the back end of the double play.
Well, you were at the game today. You covered it yesterday and today, maybe even Friday. They said Chapman's not even ready to start doing any kind of rehabilitation yet. Do you know what's going on with Chapman?
The only thing that Tony Vitello said, and in this era of full disclosure, he started early, and by the time I got there, he was done. But I did get this from a couple other reporters. Basically said that Chapman will not play in the series in Seattle this coming weekend. He did say Daniel Susac was likely to be activated in Seattle, but the only thing I can say definitively is that Vitello said it's very unlikely that Chapman will be ready that first series in Seattle after the break.
Boy, watching Casey Schmidt play third base, you're saying to yourself, why push him? Right? He's got 19 home runs, 50 RBIs. He's playing stellar defense. He's holding everything down. Some of the throws were just so perfect how he lines them up. A couple of those balls were in on him today where he literally had to stay down and then come up rifle into first. He has played well. You and I have talked about this many times, a position that he was comfortable with. But then you look at what he's done, playing second, playing left field, some shortstop. A man of many positions, as we can say.
Yeah, and dare I say first base, too. And there was that little Tata Tate in San Diego when he clearly is not a first baseman and was doing the best he could. But, yeah, I mean, he's certainly adequate at second and short. He's made himself into a left fielder. I think he said he had played outfield in high school, but he hadn't played it since then. And you didn't ever look at him in left field and think, boy, he's a real liability, and he's a plus defender at third base. I mean, I think I heard Ben Ross on talking with you yesterday, Bill, and Ben said something to the effect of the Giants might have the two best defensive third basemen, if not in the major league, certainly in the National League, in Chapman and Casey Schmidt. So that's a nice luxury to have.
It sure is, and maybe that's the reason why they don't want to push Chapman that fast. Of course, with the 3 days or 4 days off, that'll help him do some rehab, and then he'll probably figure it out once they get to Seattle. and he has to get back. He has to get off the IL, and it's going to be a big question mark on what happens then. And if Schmidt goes back out to left field, most likely that will happen. But let's go back to this catcher position. Like you said, Daniel Susac will be active. Drew Kavanaugh most likely will go back to AAA. Do you feel that Eric Haas is a possibility of maybe getting let go?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, at this time of the year, anything's possible. He also, as an experienced catcher, he probably has some value in a trade. The other thing, too, is, Jesus Rodriguez got called up only recently. He could go back down as well. So I don't know exactly what the move would be with Susac coming back, but you'd think it'd be either Haas or Rodriguez. I think Kavanaugh's done enough, and the fact that he's a left-hand hitter helps, that I would be surprised if Kavanaugh's the guy. I could be wrong. It would be the 17th time today I've been wrong, but I would be more. I suspect more Rodriguez or Haas getting moved one way or another than Kavanaugh. Just basically wondering because Kavanaugh hits left-handed.
Steve Kroner joining me for a few more minutes on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. You can follow him on X at Steve Kroner SF. Let's change the subject and talk about this MLB amateur draft today and yesterday. Jason Flora from Pleasanton gets picked as a fourth pick. Boy, I saw videos on him. He's the real deal. And then they pick up a high school left-hander, and I really liked him. Those were the first two picks, and, of course, you got to look at Mr. Barry Bonds' nephew, another Bonds in a Giants uniform. I don't know how much you've looked at the draft so far, Steve, but what have you think of these first few picks?
Well, Flora was, I do know that he was considered by far the best college pitcher in the draft. So, I think you and I had talked. One guy, to me, that the Giants really could have used if he had dropped to them was the catcher from Georgia Tech, Bill Laskey. Because we're
beautiful.
Catching has not
great
been.
Great player.
Yeah. But once the top three guys went, and Chalowski, the shortstop from UCLA, went first, and then Lackey went third, then Flora, to me, was kind of the logical choice. To be honest, as a guy who does follow college baseball around here quite a bit, I've covered and just kind of noticed today the college players from 4 Bay Area schools who got selected, and I can run those down quickly for you if you got a moment, Bill.
Yeah, go ahead, fire away. It's good to know.
The first pick of a local player today was in the 5th round by the Astros, Cal pitcher Gavin Eddy, and Cal PR guy Daniel Mobus Bowes had a great line about Gavin. He said he's one of the few college pitchers who had a higher GPA at 3.85 than his ERA at 2.87. So
that's good. I like that one.
pretty well on the mound and in the classroom. Cal had 2 other players selected, 15th round, a pitcher Oliver De La Torre to the Jays, in the 17th round, catcher Hideki Prather to the Twins. Stanford and St. Mary's each had 4 players selected. The key one, I think, for Stanford is in the 8th round, Rintaro Sasaki, who's from Japan and was like the greatest high school hitter in the history of Japan. He's a draft-eligible sophomore. He went in the 8th round of the Marlins. It'll be interesting to see if he comes back to Stanford for another year. In 8th round, you're making good money, but it's not. I don't think it's life-changing money. And
right.
I think he's got a good relationship with David Esker in the program. That will be an interesting story to follow, to see if Sasaki goes to the Marlins, goes to Stanford. I believe he also was taken in the 1st round of the Japanese draft last fall. So he's got some options. So Stanford had 4 players picked. St. Mary's had 4 players picked. Santa Clara had 2, including a kid I did a story on for the Chronicle, Max Bayless, in the 7th round, a pitcher to the Twins.
When you start thinking about Northern California, some high school kids also got drafted, I saw. A lot of good baseball. It's always been a plethora of players here in Northern California, especially at the high school level, and a lot of them will go outside the area. But then, you look at St. Mary's and Cal and Stanford. They do select some of the players, and they should look at a lot of high school players in Northern California. A lot of good players, and you follow it really well at Cal. Don't you think this is one of a hotbed?
Oh, absolutely. Both, as you say, Bill, both in the high school level and the college level. I mean, Stanford and Cal, you're talking about two of the legacy programs in college baseball. Santa Clara and St. Mary's don't have quite the pedigree that Cal and Stanford do, but they've both had a number of players get to the major leagues. And, the high school programs in the Bay Area, from De La Salle to the WCAL schools, St. Francis, Bellarmine, I could go on and on, Mitty, Reardon, San Ignatius. I mean, the Bay Area, you think of the weather, that kids can play baseball almost all year, where they can't do that in a lot of other places in the country. And I think just the history of major league, college, and high school baseball kind of just breeds really good players in the area.
It was a good draft. I really feel the Giants did well. They wanted to get pitching. They got a ton of pitching, which is great. Now we just got to get them signed and move forward. Tomorrow, Steve, Murph and Marcus is going to interview Jason Flora, and that'll be a good one. That'll be a good interview. That's going to be at 9 o'clock, and we'll see what Flora has to say. Of course, he was a big Giants fan, grew up in Pleasanton. I'm so glad they picked him. I think that's going to be a big right arm for them in the future. But, Steve, again, thanks for joining me. It was great talking to you, and I'll be in touch with you on Friday night when the Mariners and the Giants take place.
Bill, as they say, enjoy the break.
Thanks, Steve. That was Steve Kroner. Coming up next, I get to talk to my buddy Chris Spire. Now, Chris Spire was a 3-time All-Star, a World Series champion. You can see him. He's on the Giants Wall of Fame, and he's also in the Montreal Expos Hall of Fame. So Chris Spire and I will talk some Giants baseball as well as defense, because he was a fantastic shortstop. That's coming up next on the Extra Inning Postgame Show.
You're listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. I'm delighted to bring a friend back on the show. Played 19 years in Major League Baseball, over 15 as a Major League Baseball coach. He was a three-time All-Star. 2001, he won the World Series with the Diamondbacks. He's in the Montreal Expo Hall of Fame. He's a Willie Mack Award winner, and he's also on the San Francisco Giants Wall of Fame. Let's welcome in my friend Chris Spire. Chris, how are you?
I'm great, Bill. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, looking at your career here, and at 21 years old, you came up to Candlestick Park and played. A whole different kind of ballpark. Turf field, open and outfield. How difficult was that for you to jump from the minor leagues? All of a sudden, now you're in the big leagues and you're playing on turf.
Oh, God, it was a pleasure. Believe me. After playing on all those tracks in the minor leagues and the infields, to get out there and, the ball's pretty true. It's a lot faster coming at you on the turf, but it's pretty true. And I just think, sometimes as an infielder, the turf can make you a little bit lazy because it is so true.
Well, one of the things that I loved was the nickname, the Alameda Rifle. Something that you had a strong arm, an accurate arm. And those are the things as a shortstop, second baseman, and third baseman, all three positions you played. The arm always had that, deliberate know-how that you could throw anybody out at the same time. What did you do to keep that arm strong?
I think the biggest thing that I did, I was really big into long toss, where you really stretch out the distance of your throw. And, you got to the place where standing at home plate, you could maybe throw it over the left field line over 300 feet. But I did a lot of long toss to keep my arm strong.
Now, the same thing, Chris, when you're dealing with pregame, learning how to hit ground balls, learning how to catch ground balls, working on the ball in front of you, working on the backhand. How much did you do, and how did you prepare for the games?
I over-prepared. I was that guy that, Bill, to be honest, I really had a fear of failure. I really didn't want to fail at all. And I felt that the more that I worked before the game, then I knew that I was prepared and I did everything. And I would drive coaches crazy of the amount of ground balls that I would want to take. So, yeah, it was a little bit over the top.
Well, when you look at your career, 19 years, you had 280 errors, but really your first year, you had 33 errors your first year, your rookie year. Something you had to get over, something you had to maintain to say, hey, I got to get better at this.
Well, in most of the throws, most of our errors that we commit as infielders are throwing errors. And like you said, I had a really good, strong arm, but thank God. I had 33 errors. I could have had 50, but I had Willie McCovey over there. And, I think, there was a tendency to, make sure that I needed to dial in my throws a lot better, and I got a lot better at it pretty quick.
Well, Hal Lanier was helping you also at shortstop, a veteran coach, a veteran player, a friend. And what were some of the things that he taught you as a rookie coming up?
Well, I think the main thing then was, we didn't have all the video and we didn't have all the data on all the hitters' tendencies, So again, we were roommates on the road, and and before the games and stuff, we would go over the hitters on where to play them. And even during the game, I would look, I said, hey, I want to look at you, and if you want me to move me. And he would. And so, I just got, like I said, I was so blessed because I got all these veteran guys, Mays, McCovey, and Hal, and all these guys, and they were all helpful, very helpful. So I was lucky.
The other thing, Chris, you had to deal with winds. You had to deal with the candlestick winds that changed all the time, and having it so cold at nighttime. You look at the elements of the game, and that had to have been one of the hardest places you had to kind of get to know. And this is your home field, so you had to get better at it.
Well, yeah, it was. And I'll just say it. The Candlestick was the worst place in the world to play baseball. It really was. It was not pleasant, especially those night games when the wind is howling. And you had no idea which direction it was really going to be blowing because it was swirling all over the place. So, as an infielder, as soon as that ball went up, my first step is back. I got to get behind the ball and see what it's going to do. And, half the time I was just lucky to be in the right spot at the right time.
Chris Spire joining me on the Extra Inning post-game show. You move on from the Giants and you go up to Montreal, and here's another turf field, Olympic Stadium. Another tough ballpark you had to get used to because of it was open, the sun was out, the ballpark was cold a lot. Again, a turf field. How did you adjust jumping up there?
Again, it's the thing that in the beginning was, they got weather up there, where in Candlestick, we didn't get much rain or anything like that. And so even though they would try to cover the field, when the rains came, when they took it off, it was damp. So that ball is skipping off of that when you hit it. So for me, because I had a strong arm, I said I can move back about 3 feet, a little deeper, and maybe be able to get that. But again, a battle.
Well, Chris, 13 years out of your 19-year career, you ended up playing on AstroTurf most of the time. You moved on from Montreal. You went to St. Louis. You played 1 year there on the turf, and then you went to Minnesota, and now you're playing in the Metrodome inside. And again, the turf was hard, and of course, it was so bright from the tarp that they called a Metrodome was. Again, a different type of scenario you had to get used to. How difficult was it playing there?
That one was tough because in that place, because of the lighter colored roof that they had, you couldn't take your eye off a pop-up. You had to follow it the whole way. Or if you didn't, and say you turned and ran to a spot and looked up, good luck in finding the ball again. Good luck. It was. Thank God it was only there for 3 weeks.
Well, you play in the Metrodome, and like you said, you come out from outside, it's sunny out, and you walk in a ballpark where everything's lit up. There's no, outside factors of the game, and you had to learn how to play inside, and that had to be a tough distraction, especially playing shortstop.
Well, I think for me, you take away all the outside elements, and then it makes it easier. You have no wind, you have no sun or anything like that. The only thing you had to deal with there was following the ball. A little bit different environment, but for me, it was just a much easier element to play in.
Well, Chris, 1985, you move on to Chicago. You play at Wrigley Field, a grass field finally, and sometimes the grass was pretty thick with the starting pitchers you had.
Yes.
And, it's finally now you're playing on grass, and grass is so much easier to play on. Not true hops sometimes, but it was easier. I always felt as infielders love the grass better than the turf. Something different, though. Wrigley Field was back at Candlestick, a lot of winds. The elements of the game came into. What did you have to learn about Wrigley Field when you played there?
Well, the main thing was the infield. And I'll tell you, when I came up, I don't think there was one dirt infield that I felt comfortable on. Like I said, when you play on turf, it spoils you because most of the hops are true, and it gets you a little lazy. You get back on dirt, you have to be a little bit more aggressive. You got to go take away a hop, because you're not sure what it's going to do. And so that, I took more and more ground balls whenever we would go somewhere where there was a dirt infield, so I could get a sense of what I felt it was going to do. And I just had to be a lot more aggressive as an infielder playing on dirt.
Chris Spire joining me on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show for a few more minutes. Well, in 1988, lights were installed at Wrigley Field, but you played there in 85 and 86, all-day games, something you had to adjust to every day playing a day game. It's difficult at times, even visiting teams coming in there knowing you had 3 or 4 game series, all-day games. How hard was it for you, as well as your teammates, to get up every day for a day game?
Well, I think, because of our schedules, you come home after being on the road and most of the games are at night on the road, and your biological clock is a little bit different, and I would always try to get to the ballpark. I wasn't always an early guy anyway. And, back then it was, you had to shoot. You had to try to get to the ballpark around 8 o'clock in the morning for a 1 o'clock game or so. And I just wanted to make sure that, I got out and got my work in early before, before all the fanfare comes in.
Chris, one of the things that Wrigley Field had was they were so close to the fans. Foul balls. You had to deal with pitching mounds. You had to deal with so many different elements, the brick around the side. Hard for you to understand how far you could go to catch a foul ball. What were some of the thoughts you had when a ball went up and you went, okay, let's see if I can get this one because it is down the line, but you had to protect yourself most of the time.
Well, I don't think the protection part was there, but it was so much fun because if you remember Candlestick Park, the foul territories were so far away from it was a lot of room to cover. So playing in Wrigley, on the foul territory, you only had so far you could go. Mm-hmm. And I just found it a lot easier to play there than at, say, Candlestick Park.
Overall, when you played at Wrigley Field for the few years you played there, what did you think about playing there? Did you excite yourself coming in as a Chicago Cub? And what were your thoughts after you played there?
I always thought people say, what was your favorite ballpark to play in? And that one always comes to mind. Mm-hmm. Just the whole ambiance and the atmosphere around Wrigley Field, just the history of it. But the intimacy of it, where the fans are right there on top of you, I could have a conversation with some guy that's had a few drinks and is, screaming at me, and I can turn around and I can talk to him, and he can hear me. So it was just a lot of fun. It really was.
Well, you finish up your career, Chris, coming back to Candlestick Park, but now it's grass. A whole different array of playing Candlestick Park. Yeah. What was it fun for you to come back and play with the Giants again?
Oh my gosh. By that time, most of all these major league teams that had turf went back to grass, and they finally figured out the composition of the dirt. And it was so nice to play on. So nice. Yeah, these guys that are playing today are really spoiled. But back then it was just that was always my home. No matter where I went or where I played, I always felt that I was a Giant. And to be able to come back and finish up there with such great guys and great teams, it was just an honor.
Chris, as we finish up here, you coached for well over 15 years in Major League Baseball, and you coached at, again, turf fields, grass fields. Infielder coach, you hit a lot of fungos. What were some of the points of interest you had to make with those infielders, especially playing on grass fields, as we just talked about, rather than turf fields?
Well, I think the main thing, is that we had to spend time, especially when you're on the road, you got to get out there and you need to take a few more to get a feel of what these infielders, what these infields are like. The other thing is that you need to look at all the parameters on the outside of what, how far can you go? What does it look like down the lines? Where are the caroms going to go if there's balls down there? How far do you have to go out as a cutoff man? There's a lot of little small details that you try to share and let these people know, the guys, of what they need to prepare for.
Chris, once again, great catching up with you. Love talking baseball with you, and what a great career, 19 years, and especially playing on some of the fields you had to play on. Man, there was some tough times, but you made it
Yeah.
through with a great career, and I appreciate your time today.
Well, I appreciate you guys. All right. Go Giants.
That was Chris Spire on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show. As we close out a Sunday, the Extra Inning Postgame Show will be on next Saturday and Sunday and the following weekends as the season progresses. I want to thank my two guests today, Chris Spire and Steve Kroner. You can hear both of their interviews on the All KNBR podcast if you missed those. I want to thank Ryan McCarthy for running the show, did a great job. And, of course, Giants Calls. It's always great talking to all of you on weekends. I'll be on the Papa Silver Show tomorrow if you want to join in. From 10 to 2 o'clock, I'll be in studio with Greg Silver. We'll be talking to the UCSB head coach Andrew Checketts, and he's been the head coach down there, has done a great job. And if you didn't hear it, 9 o'clock tomorrow, Jackson Flora will be on Murph and Marcus on KNBR. For Bill Laskey, have a great All-Star break. You'll hear me on Wednesday and Thursday night on Sports Phone. For Bill Laskey, have a great Sunday. More coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
It's another great outing for the righty on your home